Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today I am ridiculously excited. Like y'all, when I tell you I'm excited, it's just excited to the max. It is like excited when I get to go get a Saurian in BG3. Okay, so that gives you a little preview of what you're in for today, because today we are going to be talking about how I've been working with the True Insight Oracle, which is a new Oracle deck that is currently on Kickstarter, and it is a tabletop inspired that came about from Eric's love of Baldur's Gate 3. So you've probably heard me talk about it. You might have even seen Lisa and I streaming it. It is our absolute favorite game. I am also into tabletop games, role-playing, things like that, video games. I'm all about it. So you might know Eric from some of his other deck creations. I feel like he's known best probably in the community for his Inkwitch Tarot, which does have a beautiful box, but I made a bag for mine, so that's how special it is. So this is the Inkwitch Tarot, which y'all might recognize. I do believe I have several videos about this deck on my channel. It is one of my favorites. I think it is a super smart tarot deck. I really love using it. There's a new edition, or there was a new edition. There's extra cards, so you can pick and choose the ones you want, which make this deck really customizable to how you read tarot. So Eric's probably best well known for the Inkwitch. Then Eric also created the Endless Oracle and the Paper Oracle. I'm not entirely sure that I have a video dedicated to the Paper Oracle on my channel, but I have used it and I have shown it in several of my monthly wrap-up videos. The Endless Oracle, I know I did a full video on because this is a super smart Oracle deck too. And just adding to that whole collection of incredibly useful, smart and insightful decks is Eric's new deck, the True Sight Oracle. So this deck is 54 Oracle cards, hand-drawn in ink and inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. So everything in this deck is related to playing a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons style game. Now, it is not just specifically for that, although Eric has brilliantly in the big book added information about how to actually use it in a tabletop game, which is fantastic. The deck has a little pamphlet in here which just has some keywords for the cards. Now, if you are unfamiliar with D&D terms, this little pamphlet is going to be your guide, because all of the terms that are in here are going to be super familiar to you. And once you kind of take a look and see these cards through that lens of those keywords, I think it's going to make it a really flexible oracle for anybody, even if you are not a gamer. Real quick, I'm just going to touch on the guidebook. This book is a work in progress, so what I have here, book and deck, are both prototypes. There's a bunch of information around using the deck, working with it in a reading as well as in tabletop gaming. And then for each card, we have the card title, some keywords that relate to it, what the card means, and then how we might use it in game. So I'm actually going to show you how I use that in a reading as well. Here's the beautiful backs, which are Eric's signature floral pattern. We have the D20 shape in the middle, and it's just absolutely amazing. I'm going to flip through this deck very quickly. If you want an in-depth look at each of the cards, what each of these things mean in terms of tabletop gaming, and how they relate to the keywords in the little guidebook, definitely go check out my friend Lisa Pepez. She did a video as well, and she went through in detail what each of these cards mean when they come up in a gaming sense, as well as how you would use them in a divinatory sense. And because she did such a succinct, beautiful job, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, so I'm just going to link her video below. I'll take a quick flip through. We have acrobatics, advantage, animal handling, just so that you can see these cards quite quickly. The illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. The keywords are fantastic. And the way that Eric has related each keyword to a divinatory meaning is amazing. He did a fantastic job with it. I absolutely love this artwork. I love his take on the tarot, his take on divination. Again, I'm not going to go through each of them in detail, because what I really want to get to in this video is the different ways that I've been working with this deck. Because like so many of Eric's decks, the True Sight Oracle is an incredibly versatile oracle. As a gamer, I have personal connection to each and all of these terms. The minute they come up, I can think of a game-related scenario that it relates to, be it a Dungeons and Dragons tabletop campaign, be it a game like Baldur's Gate that is based on Dungeons and Dragons. Any fantasy type game or adventure is often steeped in this same kind of language and lore. And so this particular deck, because it is using all of those as its main keyword, has such a significant and personal meaning for me. However, it functions gorgeously as just a divinatory oracle. So I really wanted to dive into how I've been working with it in both ways. I have done some really cool things with this deck. It has been so much fun to play with. I had to put it back in order just so I could show it to you because I've had a blast. I've had a blast getting to know this deck, playing with it, spending some time with it, figuring out different things that I can do with it so that I can share that with you. I absolutely adore it. I do really like that it's also just black and white illustrations because it allowed me to use it with a multitude of decks, and I really didn't feel like the artwork or the style of it really was a hindrance aesthetically on my table. And like y'all know, like aesthetics matter to me. I get a lot out of working with the artwork. I get a lot out of working with color and shapes and themes that carry across cards. And so when cards work well together aesthetically, that adds a whole nother layer to my readings. The black and white really allowed it to be a wonderful, versatile tool for me to use. So we're going to start off with a couple of deck pairings, and I'm just going to give this a shuffle. So we're going to do a little playing with pairs, just so you can kind of get a sense of how this deck functions in a just sort of normal, I should say, quote unquote, normal tarot reading. And then I'm going to show you how I've done some next level tarot reading with it, some playing, some gamifying the work, and it's just been an amazing deck to work with. I have really enjoyed it. So let me get it shuffled and then we'll jump into our playing with pairs. So the first deck that I tried pairing the True Sight Oracle with is the Night Sun Tarot because I'm currently having a little bit of a love affair with this deck. I also feel like it kind of exists in a fantasy world. So I'm going to show you just, we're doing a little playing with pairs, how this deck functions as basically just an oracle if we were to use it as a focal point. So here we have Stealth and what all that might mean to you as well as what it might mean in game between our Ace of Pentacles and our King of Wands. I think these two actually work really well together. And again, I really like the black and white illustrations that feel like it doesn't compete. So it feels like it really supports my tarot work really well and the imagery that I'm working with in the tarot. So it really is a complement to it rather than a competing energy, and I really enjoy it. I think these two work really well together. The white borders also on the Night Sun Tarot don't hurt because they really help pull that white together in that is the majority of the cards. So you can see here that we're just using that keyword wisdom, tapping into that focal point, and we've got the Page of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles here. So working with these two, just as a typical oracle, we've got charisma. I mean, most of us know, what these words mean in a general sense. So you don't necessarily have to pull in any D&D knowledge into it. Just, to be a charismatic person, what that means. Medicine, how might we be healing? What type of medicine might we need to get us through this situation? We'll just do a few more with these because I really want to get to how I actually worked with these. But I just wanted to show you a couple of pairings so you can see that it does function really well as just a singular oracle as well. Here we have intelligence, knowledge, understanding between the Hermit and the Knight of Pentacles. Another deck that I paired with it is the Jupiter Power Tarot. This was a really fun one because I felt like it took this sort of focal point keyword and showed me how to expand it in a really creative way. So here we have encumbered between the Three of Swords and the Seven of Wands. I love the art style in the Jupiter Power Tarot. I have quite a few decks by that creator as well. It's also another creator I collect. And it really did add sort of this interesting kind of looking at things from a different perspective layer. So I think it's really interesting how it just kind of lends a different energy. And this is what I find with most oracle decks, depending on the type of tarot that I pair them with. Oh, this is great. Insight between the Moon and Death. How fabulous is that? I really love the color between these decks too, because the Jupiter Power Tarot has a very limited color palette, and then we pair that with the black and white of the True Sight Oracle, and it's really powerful. I really enjoy it. Religion between the Five of Cups and the Nine of Swords. I mean, it's just powerful. I really like it. Again, I'm just trying to work through these pairs fairly quickly so I can get to the how I actually used this deck. Of course, I had to pair the D&D inspired Oracle with the Dungeons and Dragons Tarot. So for those of you who are really interested in digging deep into that lore, that story, that structure, those mechanics, this is a great little pairing because you can pull in all of those elements in a really deep and impactful way. These two together were a lot of fun. Aesthetically speaking, they still work because again, that black and white of the True Sight Oracle means it is just super versatile and I can throw just about anything on the table with it and it will do beautifully. So here we have dexterity between the 7 of charisma and the ace of strength. This is great and a great pairing because some of these key terms, charisma, strength, things like that, those are character traits and abilities that we use in Dungeons and Dragons and that, like, let's be honest, we use in real life. And so sometimes when they come up and you get those repeating cards across that comes up in the Oracle as well, that's just really cool because it really hones in on that energy in a very profound way. So again, I think it's a beautiful deck that actually works really well, even if you're not familiar with the terms. You know, sleight of hand, we can see here that, you know, we have this hand kind of throwing up the coins and the thieves' tools and things like that. But even if you're unfamiliar with those things, you know, most of us know that sleight of hand is kind of like, it's a sneaky thing, right? I think Lisa mentioned like street magicians and performers in that sense. And I think that's a great reference for that type of energy. Rogue in game, rogues have great sleight of hand. Persuasion, the idea of being persuasive, right? We have that between the ace of charisma and the 2 of strength. That's a wonderful card to come up between those two. So this is a fun one. I really enjoyed these because like they really do allow you to just go really deep into like the whole geekiness of the D&D world. So a little pairing that kind of blew me away was the True Sight Oracle with the Bianco Nero Tarot. This whole black and white, oh, it just makes my heart so happy. And I really love the way these two decks play together. So here we have history between the Moon and the Queen of Swords. Like knowing your history, knowing what is true, what is not, and being able to suss that out and use some discernment when you're looking at those you know, maybe your own history or the history of things that you're exploring or studying or things of that nature. Like really knowing what is true and what is not. I just think that's beautiful. We have saving throw between the Page of Wands and the 2 of Wands. I really love these two together. They're so freaking cool. Nat 20, baby, between the World and the Hierophant. I mean, come on. Natural 20 is basically the ultimate success. Ooh, TPK, total party kill between strength and the 2 of Cups. That's an amazing combo. So I'll just flip through a couple more real quick. This pairing though, y'all, this pairing just really, really thrills me. I had so much fun with these two, just doing some basic small readings. I worked with the True Sight as just a basic Oracle. Okay, so that's a look at some of the pairings that I've done with the True Sight Oracle. Let's go into full play mode now. Are y'all ready for this? Because we are just going in full geek mode now. Okay, so I was playing with the idea of using the True Sight Oracle as spread positions. So I want to show you that, and it's based off a D&D character sheet. So you'll see as we go through here, a lot of the cards in the True Sight are actually based on things that we find on a D&D character sheet. So I thought this would be really cool to divide them all out and to actually do a reading for myself based on these ideas that we find, these characteristics and these traits and these proficiencies that we find in a D&D character. So I'm going to treat myself like a D&D character, and I'm going to use the cards to create spread positions. So this is what a typical, I mean, most people do it online nowadays, but if you rock it old school, this is what a D&D character sheet looks like. We roll dice to figure out all of our stats. And then we fill this in, and then we have places for like our backstory and things like that. So if you want to get like real fun with this, you could actually print one of these. This is a free printable off Wizards of the Coast, and you can print this off and actually fill this out as a tarot reading. It's lots of fun. I definitely had some fun playing around with this idea and working through this as a tarot reading. So I'm going to kind of do that sort of sped up version of that for you here today, just so you can see how I did that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at every character has these 6 main stats that we see here represented in these cards. So that's strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Now, these are their base skills that help them with whatever their class they've chosen to play. So certain classes, like a barbarian, might have an awful lot of strength. A rogue would be quite dexterous. A fighter might have a lot of constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, all things that spellcasters such as wizards and bards, warlocks might use. So these are kind of like the main skills. So we're going to start with these, and then I'll talk about these other cards that I have on the table here in a moment. So these are our 6 main stats. These are the main things that I need to make a little space that go into creating our character, to creating who we are. I'm going to look at this through a personal lens. So this is my strength, my dexterity, my constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Those are things that matter to me and relate to me. So actually for this, because I'm doing a personal reading based on me and, you know, my own personal character traits, I'm going to get into my deck that I most closely associate with myself right now. And that is the Dreaming Way Tarot, which, by the way, also works fabulously with the True Sight Oracle. I didn't do it in the Playing with Pairs because I knew I was going to be using it here, so you'll definitely see it in action. So I'm just going to give my Dreaming Way a little shuffle. And then what I'm going to do is look at these 6 traits and think about what each one means and how I personally relate to them. Now, if you're unfamiliar what these traits are and how they relate to character building, you can definitely get into either the little guidebook or the big one. There's plenty of information in both to help give you an indication of what that keyword means or what that skill means. So I am going to now pull 6 cards from, we're just going to move that dice because it's in the way. Pull 6 cards for each of these positions. And this, I'm basically using the True Sight Oracle to create a tarot spread for myself. So I'm kind of doing it in a sort of Lenormand style where I'm using them almost like houses. So if you're familiar with Lenormand, this concept is really similar because I'm using each of these to kind of represent the house or the trait that each of these cards exist in. So in strength, I have the Ace of Wands. That's where my strength lies. And just so we have a little bit of an idea of what Eric has assigned to each of these, I'm going to go ahead and get into just the little pamphlet here. So for strength, it's power and force. So where my power lies is in the Ace of Wands. So for my dex, that's my finesse, that's handiness. That is how, you know, how dexterous I am, what my sort of resiliency is, and I've got the world there. So for constitution, that is like your health and your well-being. And I have the 5 of Swords there. So that tells me that maybe my well-being and my health is not so great right now. I'm in this 5 of Swords space with it. Actually, totally true. Love when the cards just air my dirty laundry. It's amazing. So for intelligence, that's our knowledge and our learning. We have the Page of Wands here. I love that it's a page. That's amazing. My wisdom is the that's comprehension and logic, and I have the Tower. So maybe things are being shook up in that space right now. Maybe I am, you know, re-examining some of the things that I thought I knew. Maybe some of those are being dismantled at the moment. And then in charisma, your charisma is, you know, your kind of people skills, your socializing. We have the 2 of Pentacles, that idea of kind of always balancing, trying to balance things, keep things in balance. Totally spot on. Absolutely love it. So now that I've got this, at this point, I could 100% dice cast over the top of this. I'll link the main dice casting below just so you can check it out if you're unfamiliar. Again, I'm not going to go into that today because that is a lot to absorb in one video. So I've got this as my base reading, right? This is kind of like who I am, kind of a temperature check, if you will, at the moment. So now we also have all of these other skills. So we have like acrobatics and animal handling, arcana, athletics, deception, history, things of that nature. These are our skills. So what I tend to do is I either think about what skills I might currently be in need of, and I might hand select them. Like maybe I need a little bit of history. I've got some wisdom things going on here. So I'm like, I could use a little bit of history. Maybe a little bit of insight would be helpful. So I've got some history and some insight that I want to tie into. I could also shuffle because I've pulled these all out, again, in alignment with what I saw on the character sheet. And I could also just shuffle and draw at random to see what I need versus just pulling them out based on what the tarot reading was. So I've got this going on where I'm like, I really need to focus on some history, some insight. I can pull more cards to get some context around that. I could continue working with tarot. I could pull an additional oracle in here. Just for fun, let's pull in the paper oracle, which is Eric's little Lenormand / oracle deck. And it's a great one for really getting to the heart, really clarifying things. So again, I'm kind of doing a one shot, but well, you'll see when I do a one shot, it's much more random, whereas this is actually a planned out tarot spread that I'm creating out of these decks. The key, that's what I got for history. So it's telling me that the key, that unlocking, is what is needed for history. And then for insight, we got the scales. So balance, maybe bringing some balance into this whole experience here. I love the way that these all work together. So armor, class, and proficiency. Let's talk about these really quick because I am going to pull these into the reading. So for armor class, this is our barriers and our defensiveness, what we need to take into this reading to navigate this space. And I'm going to put the proficiencies, which is your skillfulness and your talents, over here. So if we're thinking of this as a full reading based on kind of like taking the temperature of where we are right now, what we're experiencing, what we need to be focusing on, this is the sort of armor, the boundaries, the barriers, the things that we need to kind of be mindful as we're moving through this, maybe the things that we need to put on. We can think about what that might be and just do some free journaling around that. We could definitely pull some cards around that. I could pull Lenormand, I could pull Oracle, I could pull more tarot. Let's just pull some tarot. So armor class, I got the 9 of Pentacles. So over here for proficiency, I kind of look at this as like, this is the thing that's going to help me do all of this, to help me really tap into looking at where I am, what I need to do, the things that I need to be focusing on, and how can I actually put that into action. And I got the 5 of Pentacles. So I kind of created a character spread, but one that I can use for personal growth and reflection, because I'm using all of these cards and these concepts from a character builder to help me understand and flesh out who I am and where I'm at right now. So then these are just all the other cards that were in the deck. And so I could shuffle these and then pull these as, okay, I've got like, this is me and this is where I'm at. And this is what I need to navigate. Maybe now I need to see, like, take an action. What do I need to do? So let's see what I get, just to kind of give us an indication of what we might use these extra cards for. So let's see what I might do. We're going to do a group check. I'm going to lay 3 cards right down in the middle. So looking at who's around me, am I being aware of the other people that are involved in my life and in my decision making? Am I being mindful of them? That's an action I could take. Advantage. So in a game, when you're rolling with advantage, you're getting to roll twice and take the better of the 2 options. So looking at where in my life do I currently have advantage, and maybe the groups, the people that I'm hanging out with, the people that I engage with on a daily basis, they are my advantage. They help me make the better decisions, create the better moments. Then let's see what our third and final one is. And we've got familiar. So maybe I might look to where I can find additional support, because familiar, or a pet in the game sense, it's kind of like an extra tool, right? You can use them to go out and find things, or to fight, or to, dig up stuff, or to investigate things, or they can do some of the work for you, their support. So I'm looking at this going, this is me, and this is the actions that I need to take right now, really being mindful about who I'm around, what I'm doing, who I'm bringing into my circle. So this is an example of like one of the type of readings that I've done with this deck, based on this idea of character building and then taking some action with the situation in the reading. Are you ready for this? Because now I'm going to show you my favorite selection of decks to use for a one shot. Now, technically a one shot is supposed to be like a standalone reading. I have done this reading with these decks multiple times, and occasionally I've even pulled in the Notoria and the Goetia, and it is just super extra. And I've pulled in dice casting. I'm gonna just stay with these 4 just for right now because I'm trying really hard not to overwhelm y'all. But as you can see, this deck, there's so much you can do with it. The sky is the limit. It's just amazing. So I'm gonna show you a one-shot that I have been playing with this deck. So for this one, I've got my giant Diablo Tarot. I forgive it for its size because I love it. The Citadel Oracle. And then this one is the Oracle of Heaven and Hell. So the first thing that I'm gonna do when I do this one shot is I am gonna pull a Oracle of Heaven and Hell. So this particular deck features angels and demons. So one side is an angel, one side is a demon. You can get into the guidebook. There's great information in there. And I use that actually as my focal point. So we have Hariel as the angel with purification and Egelos as religious and general conflicts. So we have purification and conflicts. Now I generally will just pull it up however it came up. So I came up with the angel on top. So that's what we're gonna go with. I'm gonna pull 2 of my giant Diablo Tarot because I love this deck. You could totally do it with a normal size deck too. This whole reading is really great with the Horror Tarot. It's also a fun one. I've used it. The Notoria, the Goetia. That's a great one because you can use the Notoria for the angels and the Goetia for the demons. Definitely played with that too. I've done a lot of playing with this deck with the True Sight to see kind of what I can use it for and how it's going to work for me. So then I pull, it's upside down. We've got the Star, which I love the Star, and 7 of Pentacles. So these are I do love that they're giant, they're hard to work with, but they really draw your attention, right? There is no 2 ways about the significance of these 2 cards in this reading. So I've got my Star and my 7 of Pentacles with my angel and my demon in between. So then I'm gonna pull the True Sight Oracle to kind of see what I need to know about these. So I've got the Star, and over here we've got history. Okay, so that's something that I need to be thinking about. And then on this side, we have wisdom with the 7 of Pentacles. Am I still on camera? I can scoot over to see a little bit more. So this is telling me that what I need to be tapping into is wisdom in combination with the 7 of Pentacles. And then we've got the Star with history. Now, again, I'm looking at these 2 different sides, my angel and my demon. This gives me an idea of these are the 2 sides. Everything has a light and shadow. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And I can look at each of these cards through their light and shadow lens and see where that's going to apply. And then I want to pull the Citadel into this. So we got the Champion, Achievement, and Downfall. And I'm going to put that over here with History. I'm going to put it between the Star and History. So this is kind of telling me, now I'm doing a layered reading now on top of it. Let me just throw all of my reading styles at you at once. Now, not only is it a one shot, but I'm doing a layered reading because I've connected these 2 cards, the history and the Star, with the Champion. So looking at achievement, but being mindful of the downfall. And I love this because this kind of mirrors this angel demon energy here. So let's do the same with our 7 of Pentacles and our wisdom. And we got the Catalyst. With radical changes and taking control. And that is really interesting when we have that paired over here with the 7 of Pentacles, which is generally a card of, kind of having some patience, taking our time, letting things grow in the way that they're meant to. And I feel like this wisdom card and this catalyst, the 7 of Pentacles together, I feel like this is the demon side. This is the shadow side of this reading where it's telling me to be mindful of where I may be making too many radical changes. I'm not having the patience that I need. I'm just diving in without any maybe thought to the history, to what it is that I was trying to cultivate, to this achievement that I was trying to generate over here. Maybe I'm just rushing forward and not giving things the time and space that it needs. Also, I've got this purification keyword with this angel over here. So definitely looking at maybe this is some purification energy with the Star. And I'm gonna go ahead and actually pull in 2 more of the True Insight. I feel like I need to lay up this. Okay, because I'm limited by the viewfinder, by the amount of space my camera can record. When I do a one shot, like off camera, like it's full on across the whole table. But I'm limited by the space that my camera can actually occupy. So I'm gonna pull in 2 more True Insight cards to give me a little bit more kind of like a takeaway information. So athletics I got down here, and acrobatics, interesting. I am looking at this now is the bridge point between these 2 things, and that's how I'm going to read them. These are the skills that I will need in order to navigate this particular space, this particular reading. And I could, again, cast dice over the top of this to help me to understand what this is and what it's talking about, and maybe get real specific on what part of my life it's speaking to, where I'm at in the process of it. All of those are things that are great for the dice casting to add that layer over the top of it. Like I could just take these and literally cast over the top, and this now gives me even more layer. We've got our element and what it's pertaining to. We've got our overarching archetype with the High Priestess here, which is interesting because I already have an archetype, a major on the table. We've got our house and our phase and our process, like where we are. We've got our advice. So all of those things I could layer over the top of this whole reading, which would give me kind of like an overarching view of what this reading is talking about. I love these decks together. I mean, seriously, like I've pulled in the Notori and the Goetia too, and it like just gets to be this ginormous, huge reading, which is so much fun to work with and to really dive deep into. So another practice that I've engaged with the True Insight Oracle, and I actually pulled in Eric's other Oracle deck, the Endless Oracle, into this, is with my Hades work. So if you've been around here for a hot minute, you might have heard me talking about working with Hades as a divine energy, a divine masculine energy. I'm working with that in alignment with some Persephone energy. And my deck for that I use is my Darkness of Light Tarot. And this to me is my Hades deck. So I wanted to show you how I've actually incorporated this deck, or really these 2 decks, into some other practices. So right, it's great for one-shots. It was great for the tarot reading. It works fabulous as using it for just general positions for a tarot spread. Like I could use this to create a tarot spread. But I also want to talk about how I've been using it actually in alignment with other practices that I have. I'm creating this basic 9-card reading, so kind of like your traditional box reading, and I'm using each of these decks to represent specific things. So I'm going to lay out this spread. I'm going to do 3 cards. That history card, it keeps coming up for me. Long Rest and Spell Components. So history is, you know, that knowledge, that understanding. Long rest is when you basically take a break. You replenish all of your skills and all of your spell slots, and it's basically a rest to regenerate, right? It's taking time out, going to bed at night, right? Being mindful, a little bit of self-care. And then spell components are the things that are worked into actually casting a spell. So in the witchy community, you know, we're real familiar with spell components because we often use those as well. I say we, although I'm not really in that community, but I have been at different times in my life. So now what I'm gonna do is pull in my Darkness of Light. So I'm using this line, the True Sight Oracle, to kind of tell me where I need to be focusing in terms of pulling in my Hades work. And you can do this with anything. I'm just using Hades as an example because I want to use real life, like my real practice examples for this work. So I've got the 8 of Blades for history. I've got the 8 of Cups for long rest, interesting with the 8s. And then I've got the 10 of Blades with spell components. So now I would look at these 6 cards and each one in alignment. So history with the 8 of Blades, like being bound up by your history, by, you know, maybe not realizing that you can step outside of that. You don't have to conform to it. 8 of Cups with that long rest, like just taking that time to walk away from the things that aren't serving you, that are draining you right now. Like you need that rest. It's okay to walk away. The spell components with the 10 of Blades, like what do you need to create in your life so that you can let go of that stuff. I love the 10 of Blades. It's like the 10 of Swords. Like, to me, that is the let the shit go card, and I just love it. Like, let that shit go. It's like, it doesn't matter anymore. You're done with that. It's over. Okay, I'm hoping I have enough room. Again, limited camera view space. So then I'm pulling the Endless Oracle in, and this deck is so cool. I love this deck. It creates panoramas too. Like, if you lay out cards together, it creates a whole story. It's phenomenal. I have a whole video on this deck, but I've been using this one as what's going on underneath this. So we got the Fisher, we got Clashing Armies, and the Graveyard. Oh, how perfect is the Graveyard with the 10 of Blades? I know I'm kind of off the table and I've completely lost the sun, so it got really dark. Let me just pause for a minute and turn a light on. I'm so sorry about the lighting issues. You know how when you're like in the moment and you just don't notice because you're so into it, oblivious to the rest of the world. So I apologize for the lighting was bad and started getting really dark. Now I've got the Endless Oracle underneath, and this is what is lying beneath all of this. So I love this as Hades, as, you know, representative of the underworld. I often use Hades' work to look at like shadow, to look at the unseen, what I'm not acknowledging. And then I've got the Endless Oracle underneath here to add an even deeper layer to that work. Like with this history, the 8 of Blades and the Fisher, like this card gives me the idea of like, it's time to go looking for something better. I'm not bound by the history that I've been taught. I'm not bound by my own history, right? I'm not bound by that. I have the opportunity to create something new. And maybe we can think of fishing as also like finding sustenance, finding something that does support me and sustain me in a way that I need, whereas maybe some of the work that I've done previous hasn't. We've got the Long Rest with the 8 of Cups, and here we have the Clashing Armies. So this just really reminds me that, to me, this is what's going on in my head, because even though I'm taking the long rest and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave the things behind, like I'm gonna walk away, it's not good for me right now, I have this clashing armies going on in my head that it's like telling me, no, you can't leave that thing, right? Like you need that, or it's too scary to leave it, whatever the case may be. There is anxiety, there's conflict going on, or maybe because we're looking at this Suit of Cups, maybe in my heart, maybe it's not even in my head, maybe the conflict is in my heart. I'm having trouble letting go of these things, and that's creating this clash within me. So then we have the spell components. What do I need to bring together for this 10 of Blades in order to move through this and move on? And I've got the Graveyard, and this card is telling me like, man, you just really gotta let that shit go. Like you gotta bury it. And I love these decks together. They work so well, and I've had a really great time exploring that deeper layer of Hades energy using these two decks. Now it's very specific to me and my personal work, but I think this would work with any sort of practice. You can basically use the True Sight as, you know, this is kind of the overarching what it's talking about. This is like your focal point for each column. You can look at these as also, you know, in your terms of spread positions, like this is, you know, your subconscious, this is your conscious, this is your superconscious. You can, you know, past, present, future. You can assign anything you want to these three columns and what they represent for you, and then use whatever deck in the middle to kind of cue you into what that is, like your tarot here, and then another deck if you want, or the Endless Oracle, to get at that really deep underneath layer, and also kind of provide you, and the thing I really like about the Endless Oracle is, depending on how you're working with it, it does also provide you with like the thing you need to do, right? Like this is the thing I need to do. I need to bury the thing. I need to let the conflict go. I need to go searching for something that is more sustaining. And I think the way that these all work together is just absolutely fabulous. And as you can tell, I'm super excited about these decks. So real quick before we wrap up this very lengthy, very fangirly video, I want to talk real quick about using this deck in game. So I have not actually worked with this deck in game. I started just working with it with the tarot and the cards like you saw here. And my next step with this is to actually bring it into not only a tabletop D&D game, but actually to see if I can use it in video games as well, because I absolutely love incorporating cards into my gameplay in any way, shape, or form that I can. I did want to talk about adding the game elements into your readings. So let's say that I am doing a reading with the True Sight Oracle and I pull the proficiency card. So that's my first card on the table. So I'm going to go to the guidebook and I'm going to look at the in-game effects for proficiency. Maybe I might, go ahead and read a little bit about what the card means, knowing that it's talking about skillfulness and talents. So in game, it says a player with this card may choose one skill which they are not proficient in and become proficient in that skill until their next long rest. Okay, so what this is telling me in a tarot sense, because a long rest is essentially a day usually. Usually you long rest, you go to bed, it's the end of the night. So for a day, I have one skill that I don't usually use that I can become proficient in. So what I might want to do, and this is also a great one-shot way to work with this deck, is go ahead and pull a card to see what that one skill might be. I could pull in tarot, I could pull in oracle. Let's just use the darkness of light because I have that out here and it is beautiful with this deck. So what might I be focused on or proficient in or be doing really well with today? And I've got justice. So my proficiency is justice currently. That's what's gonna help me throughout today. And let's say I wanna keep going, like I wanna pull another card. I'm gonna pull another True Sight and let's see how we can activate this justice energy through deception. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna get into the guidebook and I'm gonna see what the in-game effects for deception are. So it's activated when making a deception check. So it says, until their next long rest, when rolling a deception check, the player must choose to replace their roll with a 15 before adding any modifiers to their roll. So what this is telling me is that regardless of whatever my deception skill would be, I have to replace that with a 15. So how does that work in a tarot reading? If I were doing dice casting, this would be fantastic because there's a number involved. I'd probably cast a d20 over the top of it. Like, heck, let's just do it. And did I roll over a 15? I rolled a 15. Like, come on. I rolled a 7. Okay, so I rolled a 7, so I'm gonna say I replaced that with a 15, and I would go to, because I'm rolling a d20, we're getting so into the weeds here, because I rolled a d20 that relates to archetypal energy in the dice casting system that Lisa and I created. It's always the last card. I'd pull out my devil, and devil with deception. Now, isn't that just fitting? So this is telling me that activating this justice card, there's some deception going on, there's some devil energy going on, and I would definitely be wanting to look at where that was showing up for me. So maybe now I want to do just one more and I want to see what I can activate around this energy, because now this reading's feeling pretty heavy. I feel like there's some stuff going on around me. Okay, so I got intelligence. So let's go to the little guidebook and see what it says about intelligence and how to use it in game. So intelligence is, of course, your knowledge and your learning, the knowledge we gain from experience and study. This is really interesting because I'm currently studying Hades at the moment. So the in-game effects are, until the long rest, the player with this card may add a 1d4 to any intelligence ability check or saving throw. So 1d4. Now, again, dice casting, I could actually roll my d4 to see what energy this is pertaining to, and I got a 1, so that's the suit of the mind. Perfect. And I can pull a tarot card to see what I need to know around this, and I got the 4 of coins. So now I've got intelligence, being mindful of that in the suit of the mind with the 4 of coins. And you can see here that I'm just like adding, layering, building this reading, using the True Sight to kind of guide the actions that I'm taking, using those activations in the guidebook that's layered into these cards that relate to what we would do with them in game, and now applying that to a tarot reading. It's a great way to do a one shot too, because it's kind of walk you through the process. And this has been really fun. I've definitely played with it in this way as well. So there you go, a very lengthy and detailed discussion about some of the different ways that I have been playing with the True Sight Oracle. I think this is a brilliant deck. I absolutely love it. Kudos to Eric for another incredible deck. Very versatile versatile, makes my gamer heart super happy, but I feel like all of the keywords, especially if you combine that with the divinatory messages in the guidebook, the in-game activities, this deck has so much potential and I cannot wait to continue to play with it and get to know it even better. If you are interested in picking up your own copy of the True Sight Oracle, is currently funding on Kickstarter. There is a link below. Thank you very much to Eric for sending me this deck to share with you today. Thank you all for watching, for putting up with all of my geekiness. I definitely hope that you will go and check this deck out on Kickstarter. Again, all the links are below for you. In the meantime, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.